Cedric was a young pilot soaring through the blue skies of the planet Hesperia. His father had been a veteran pilot, and Cedric had dreamed of flying through the skies since he was a child. However, this dream had turned into a nightmare due to the terrifying news he had been hearing lately. Strange signals on radio waves and alarming reports from across the galaxy had heightened Cedric's anxiety. The Empire had begun to exert control over the galaxy, and Hesperia was under threat. Cedric arrived at the old hangar by the lakeside where he always met his closest friends, Talia and Icarus. "You've heard these signals too, haven't you?" Cedric asked with a worried expression. "Something is happening, and it's not good," he said. Talia, with her usual calm and collected demeanor, shrugged. "Yes, Cedric. We've heard. But there's not much we can do. We're just a few young pilots on a small planet," she said. Icarus crouched on his knees and spread out a map on the stones. "Maybe we can do more than we think," he said excitedly. "Look, I've been analyzing these signals for a few weeks, and they all seem to have a common point. This could indicate preparations for a galactic attack." Cedric nodded thoughtfully as he examined the map. "If this is true, Hesperia might be one of the targets of this attack," he said. Talia's eyes gleamed with seriousness. "What about the other planets? Other people? We need to help them," she said. Icarus said resolutely, "That's why we need to join the resistance. Protecting Hesperia is the only way. We must unite and fight." Cedric's heart raced. Memories of the stories his father had told him from his old days came to mind. "If we join the resistance, this could be our end," he said. "But it's worth the risk. We must fight for the freedom of the galaxy." Talia took a deep breath and nodded. "I'm with you, Cedric," she said. "We were born to fight against the tyranny of the Empire." The decision was made. They prepared to leave early the next morning. They loaded their ship, gathered all necessary equipment and weapons, and took one last look at the horizon of Hesperia. Cedric said, "Leaving this place will be hard, but we must do it." As night fell, Cedric, Talia, and Icarus departed from Hesperia's atmosphere and sped into the depths of the galaxy. Along the way, the silence and uncertainty grew their anxiety and fear. The journey was more perilous than they had anticipated. While passing through an asteroid belt, their ship was jolted, and a few asteroids hit the vessel. "Watch out. Move to the side," Cedric shouted, barely managing to control the ship. Icarus looked at the control panel. "Our energy source is weakening. If we keep going at this speed, we won't make it," he said with panic. Talia immediately intervened. "You're not thinking of turning back, are you?" she said with a firm voice. "This is a test for us. If we fail, how can we give hope to the galaxy?" Cedric, encouraged by Talia's words, said, "You're right. We must continue." They managed to get through the asteroid belt, despite the difficulties. However, this dangerous journey was just the beginning of a greater peril. After a long and grueling journey, they finally reached the main headquarters of the Resistance. Before their eyes was a massive space station. Various ships from different planets were orbiting around the station. Cedric said in awe, "There are Resistance fighters from many planets here. We're not alone." As soon as they landed at the station, there was a sense of tension among the welcoming Resistance fighters. Commander Xantha greeted them with a stern and determined expression. "So, young fighters from Hesperia, huh?" she said. "This is a battlefield, not a vacation spot. If you want to stay here, you must be brave." Cedric stepped forward bravely. "We didn't come here for a vacation. We're here to protect Hesperia and the galaxy," he said. Talia and Icarus nodded with the same determination. Xantha paused for a moment, then nodded with a smile. "Good. Welcome to the Sky Warriors. Training starts tomorrow morning," she said. The first days of training were tough. They practiced space combat in simulators, learning to fly quickly and take down enemy ships. Cedric, Talia, and Icarus worked harder every day to prove their skills and bravery. One day during training, Talia turned to Cedric and said, "This is just the beginning, Cedric. We'll need to do more." Icarus said, "You're right. But we're here and determined to fight. The Empire won't take over the galaxy." Cedric looked at his friends and smiled. "We're together, and we will win this war," he said. However, one day during training, an emergency signal was received. They learned that the Empire had occupied a planet near the Resistance's base. Commander Xantha immediately called a meeting. The Empire is testing our weak points, she said. We must show them our strength. Cedric, Talia, and Icarus eagerly stepped forward. We're ready for the mission, Cedric said. We're here to fight the Empire. Xantha paused to consider them and then nodded in approval. Then, Sky Warriors, prepare for your first mission. This is just the beginning. If we succeed, we can give hope to the galaxy, she said. Cedric and his team quickly ran to their ships, preparing for the mission. Their hearts raced. They were filled with excitement, fear, and hope. Their first mission could change the fate of the galaxy. As they advanced in the sky, Cedric, Talia, and Icarus saw the enemy ships that had appeared before them. Cedric said calmly, "Here they come. This is the first battle for the Sky Warriors. We're here to save the galaxy." Talia and Icarus readied their weapons, while Cedric took the lead. "Let's show them what we can do," he said. Thus, the Sky Warriors set off for their first battle, ready to fight for the freedom of the galaxy. With determination in their eyes, courage in their hearts, and victory on their minds, they were prepared to fight for the future of the galaxy. As enemy ships rapidly approached, Cedric, Talia, and Icarus found themselves in the depths of dark space. The Imperial ships vastly outnumbered and outgunned them, but Cedric and his team were ready to fight with the courage in their hearts. Enemy ships are closing in fast. Talia shouted, her eyes glued to the radar screen. "We need to move together. If we split up, we're done for," she said. Cedric replied, "Got it. Talia, attack from the right flank. Icarus, provide support from the rear. I'll distract them. If we strike simultaneously, we might surprise them." Icarus nodded. "We're ready, Cedric. Let's show them who we are," he said. Cedric maneuvered his ship swiftly between the enemy vessels. As he dodged the Imperial ship's laser fire, his heart raced. "Let's go, friends. Now," he shouted. Talia fired her ship's lasers at the enemy vessels, while Icarus targeted them from behind. Several enemy ships exploded immediately, turning into fireballs in the depths of space. Cedric fought bravely alongside his friends to destroy the enemy ships. However, the enemy commander realized something was going wrong on the ship and activated the intercom. "Retreat. We'll regroup," he ordered. The enemy ships suddenly pulled back and formed a defensive circle around them. "It's a trap. They're setting a trap for us," Cedric shouted. "Hang on tight." Just then, the enemy ships fired simultaneously. The Sky Warriors' ships shook violently, and the control panels began to flicker. Icarus panicked. "The shields are weakening. If this keeps up, we'll blow up." Cedric struggled to maintain control of his ship. "We need to find a way out of this," he said. "If we die now, we won't be able to help anyone." Talia maintained her composure. "We need to retreat, Cedric," she said. "We underestimated their strength." Icarus, "But this is our first mission," he said desperately. "If we retreat, we'll lose hope." Cedric thought for a moment. "No, we're not retreating," he said resolutely. "We'll outsmart them." Cedric devised a plan to navigate swiftly through the enemy ships. "Talia, Icarus, follow me," he said. "We'll pass through the left flank and then make a sharp turn to the right. They won't expect this maneuver. If we succeed, we can defeat them." Talia and Icarus nodded and followed Cedric. They directed their ships to the left flank of the enemy circle and executed a sharp turn as Cedric instructed. The enemy ships were caught off guard by this maneuver and hesitated to fire. Cedric said, "That's it. Now full speed ahead." The Sky Warriors quickly exited the enemy circle, leaving them behind. However, the enemy ships immediately pursued them. Cedric said, "It's not over yet. We need to draw them into the planet's atmosphere," he said. "The planet's gravity will slow them down, and we'll gain an advantage." As they entered the atmosphere, their ships shook violently. Icarus said fearfully, "We need to jump. We'll blow up if we stay here." Cedric said, "Okay, I'm ready. Erster, zweiter, drei. Now." Together, they jumped and accelerated their ships with the help of gravity. The enemy ships struggled to follow them. Talia said anxiously, "Come on, Cedric, a little more speed." Eventually, close to the planet's surface, Cedric saw the enemy ships retreating. "We did it. We defeated them," he shouted triumphantly. But just then, they noticed something. There was a camp on the ground, a resistance camp. Cedric said in astonishment, "What is this?" "There's a resistance camp here." Upon landing, they were met by a group of people. The people's eyes held both fear and hope. A woman stepped forward. "Are you the Sky Warriors?" she asked. Cedric nodded. "Yes, we are," he said. "Who are you?" The woman took a deep breath. "We're fugitives from across the galaxy," she said. "We escaped from the Empire and took refuge here. We need help." Talia said, "We'll help you. That's why we're here." Icarus said, "But we need to get to a safe place first," he said. "The Imperial ships might still be searching for us." Cedric turned to his team. "We need to work together. We must help these people to free the galaxy," he said. That night, Cedric and his friends made plans with their new allies at the resistance camp. This was the beginning of a galactic resistance. Cedric's eyes were filled with determination. "This is just the beginning," he said. "We will wage a great war against the Empire. But if we work together, we can defeat them." Talia and Icarus looked at Cedric and nodded with the same resolve. "We're with you, Cedric," Talia said. "We will win this war." And so, the Sky Warriors and their new allies began preparing for a great battle against the Empire's tyranny. Throughout the night, a hopeful energy circulated around the camp. Everyone was ready for the challenges that lay ahead. But this struggle would be far more daunting than they anticipated. The enemy's power and ruthlessness were far greater than the Sky Warriors could ever have imagined. As the resistance camp prepared for a new day, the Sky Warrior ship was repaired and reinforced. Cedric, Talia, and Icarus, along with their new allies, were working on a major attack plan against the Empire. Their next target was a massive space station located at the heart of the Empire. This station was the Empire's communication and logistics hub, its backbone. If they could destroy this station, they could significantly weaken the Empire's power. Cedric was deep in thought as he examined the map. "The station's defense systems are very strong," he said with concern. "But there is a weak point: the energy reactors. If we can target the reactors, we can blow up the entire station." Talia said, "But this would be a suicide mission. We would have to pass through an area where our shields can't withstand the fire." Icarus added, "Cedric is right. If we don't act, the Empire will control the entire galaxy. We can't let that happen." The leader of the resistance, Mira, interjected. "We will come with you," she said. "For years we've been running from the Empire, hiding. But enough is enough. We must put an end to this tyranny." Cedric looked at Mira and nodded. "We're stronger together," he said. "We'll fight for all of us." The mission begins. Once preparations were complete, the Sky Warriors and the resistance team boarded their ships and set off toward the Imperial station. As they traveled through space, Cedric sat in the cockpit of his ship, gazing into the distance. "Are you all ready?" he asked over the radio. Talia's voice was reassuring. "We're ready, Cedric," she said. "We're just waiting for your signal." Icarus said, "It's an honor. Fighting alongside you. This is a battle for the fate of the entire galaxy." Cedric replied, "Then let's begin," and they swiftly advanced toward the enemy space station. As the station's massive weapons detected them, they went on high alert and began firing. Cedric and his team engaged in a life-or-death struggle, maneuvering through space to avoid enemy fire. "Talia, go in from the right flank." "I'll advance from the left," Cedric instructed. "Icarus, stay behind and draw the enemy's fire. Protect us until we reach the reactors." Icarus agreed, understood Cedric, and began firing rapidly to distract the enemy ships. Talia and Cedric advanced quickly towards the reactor area, bypassing the station's defense systems. However, as they neared the reactors, a massive enemy battleship appeared in their path. "What is that?" Talia shouted. "They're trying to stop us." Cedric gritted his teeth and said, "We need to get past it. Talia, attack from the left, and I'll hit from the right. Our target is the reactors." The two ships circled rapidly around the enemy battleship, lasers flashing. The enemy ship responded to the Sky Warriors' moves, trying to block them with its defense shields. Cedric yelled, "Fire together." Talia and Cedric fired simultaneously and managed to break through the enemy ship's shields. Within seconds, the ship exploded in a massive blast. "Yes!" Icarus shouted. "Keep going, the reactors are right ahead." As Cedric approached the reactor room, he swiftly maneuvered his ship and began firing. "Target the reactors," he commanded. Talia joined in immediately, focusing on the reactors. One of the reactors started to explode, sending a massive shockwave that rocked their ships. "Yes!" Talia exclaimed with excitement. "We did it!" But at that moment, a voice echoed through the radio. "Cedric, look behind us!" Icarus shouted. Cedric turned around and saw a massive enemy fleet coming from behind. This is too much," he said. Cedric squinted and turned to his team. "We need to escape," he said. "If we stay here, we'll be destroyed." Mira said firmly, "No. We'll continue the fight. If we retreat now, it will be too late for everything." Cedric thought for a moment and then nodded. "You're right," he said. "We'll fight together. For this galaxy, for freedom." The Sky Warriors and the Resistance team charged towards the enemy fleet. Each in their own ship, they fought with courage and determination. Amidst the explosions and lasers in space, the battle ignited the flames of final resistance. Cedric dragged his ship under an enemy vessel and fired upon it. "We must defeat them," he shouted. "This is for us, for the entire galaxy." Talia, maneuvering quickly between enemy ships, said, "We will never give up. We'll fight until our last breath." Icarus said, "Their numbers are overwhelming. But we are stronger because we fight for freedom." As the battle raged on, a tremendous explosion occurred, and a huge blast erupted in the midst of the enemy fleet. "What was that?" Cedric yelled. Mira smiled and said, "That's our victory signal. The reactors exploded, and the station is going up in flames." The enemy ships began to retreat as the station exploded. Cedric said, "This is our chance. Let's get out of here." Everyone quickly pulled back their ships and moved away from the enemy fleet. The station turned into a massive fireball and exploded. Cedric paused for a moment, watching the explosion in silence. "We did it," he said. "We really did it." Talia and Icarus looked at each other and smiled. "This is the beginning of a galaxy," Talia said. "A beacon of hope for freedom." I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye, see you in the next story.